Hello everyone, how's it going? This is going to be a weekly recap from the 10th of January to the 14th, and I do have a little bit of a cold, so maybe my voice sounds a little off, but I have to do this. This is the weekly recap, and overall I'm pretty happy with the results I have, although I think I could have done a lot better. And the lesson for this week is consider going half-sized on 9:31, 9:32 a.m. level 2 reversals with the morning panic balance play setup. There was a nice one with I forgot the name of it, but it was like the recent OTC runner that I was looking at on Friday. I made a video about it, but there have been some morning panic balance plays that drop only the first 2 minutes of the market open, and then they immediately do a level 2 reversal. They uptrend and they work very nicely. It's not really a reliable time because sometimes it looks like it's going to bounce from that level, but then it immediately breaks under. So I'm going to be a part of those setups just because of the fact that I see them working. If I didn't see them work, I wouldn't consider it. I would just wait, of course, and ideally it continues to drop for that 9:33, 9:34 to 9:40 time period when it can make a bottom and be more proper. But yeah, that's the case here. I'm gonna have to go over all the trades, and I might take a few breaks just to let my voice recover, but it's not as crazy as it was yesterday. It's a little better, but yeah, definitely my voice does not sound like what it normally does. And yeah, so I like the stats. 7 trades, 5 were green day, 71% winning percentage. I could have done better here. I could have traded closer to my dollar risk levels depending on the setup, but that's definitely one thing I have to improve. I do like the stats here. I did have 2 losing trades, and I do like the comparisons, the average dollar gain to the average dollar loss. I want to see myself trade closer to my dollar risk level, and I want to see better percent gains. And something to note here, which is something a bit new, at least in this case, it seems like the setups that took longer to play out did not work compared to the setups that were in and out very quickly. So maybe I'm going to stay away from setups that excuse me, take a longer period of time to play out. But definitely I want to see better percent gains, and I want to see myself trade closer to my dollar risk level. And and in that sense, it would make this number go higher. The percent gain off of the dollar volume that I traded. I traded $2,500 of stock volume. So yeah, this is gonna be a grind, but I'll try not to suffer too much. And yeah, let's begin with the setups and just go over them one by one. Again, only 7 setups, and these were all, actually no, one listed stock, but all the other ones were OTCs. Although this one I put not applicable. This was it ended up being a day trade, but I decided I was going to include it anyway. But this was not really a day trading pattern, but I'll go over this one. In terms of the setups, I was actually interested in trading this week for a day trade. Wow. They were all OTCs. So let's go ahead and go over these one by one, starting with OPTI. This is imperfect morning panic balance play for OPTI on the 10th. So let's look at OPTI for the 10th. Not a very nice daily chart, but the nice thing about this is that even though if you look further back it's horrible, at least it did some kind of a run up here, which made it not so bad. This was the 10th right here, the first red day after this nice run up, at least the first considerable red day. The 10th is right here. Setup was probably there because it was a morning panic balance play, but imperfect. I wonder why it was imperfect. Oh, that's why. So this was a morning panic balance play, but I didn't trade a $30 risk level, which would have meant a size 3 times as much as this one, right? Just because of the fact that I didn't like the daily chart, so I thought it was less likely going to work. It did offer an opportunity. It did make a move towards the upside. The setup did work. I just wasn't sized to my max right now, which is about $30. So I was in at 9:35 a.m. and that is 111. So let's look at 9:35. 111 was right here, my entry. So I saw this downtrend. I saw it break this level at 11. Kind of panicked down, and then it panicked down again here, but it held it. Bidders probably showed up, people hitting the ask, and it started to push it up. So I got in with that momentum towards the upside. I sold it completely at 9:36, 11:45. So right here, 11:45. So right about here was about when I sold, at least an average. Why did I sell here? Because it was very close to VWAP. It could have gone to VWAP. It could have gone above it, but I probably saw the uptrend, and I probably saw some kind of a ceiling being made, and I didn't want to take a risk. It did break it here, and it never broke under this 11 level again, and it tried again for a longer period of time. But overall, I'm pretty happy with my sell here at 9:36. I was in the setup for just 43 seconds. And yeah, this was one that worked out. I just didn't trade the largest size $100 position. Let's go ahead and go over this one, which wasn't really a setup, but I'll just go over it briefly. Okay, so the idea with SPY is that I've always had the idea of just putting in money and for a long-term position in the stock market, but I'm probably going to change my mind and not be a part of it anymore, just because I feel like, the famous words, this time is different. It just seems like the overall markets are not looking that nice. I guess I'd have to zoom back further. Let me see if I can just add a time frame and just show what I've been thinking about. That might be a little too far. Okay, yeah, so here's a daily chart of the overall markets, and let me add a trend line. Not exactly where I wanted it, but that can be adjusted. Okay, so this is my idea. This thing has been following the trend line right here for a very long time. It broke under it briefly around October for the first time, significantly, in that it wasn't like this where it just immediately came back. It struggled, but then it got itself right back above the trend line, and then it failed, and now it got under it, failed, and now it's under it. It feels like it's starting to fail this trend line right here, and it might mean that maybe not necessarily that it's just going to start to downtrend, but it's going to gain some distance and might consolidate, and then it might uptrend, and then if it breaks the day high, I might be interested. Not the day high, but I guess the high of the range. So again, it's failing the trend line, so it might kind of just bounce back and forth and consolidate, and then if it breaks that, I might be interested in it. Excuse me, but if it doesn't do something like that, it might actually just fail the trend line, or maybe just stick on the underside of the trend line, but eventually it's going to have some distance from the trend line. It's going to do that consolidation, or it might even downtrend. So I'm not really interested in the overall markets having stocks just money in stocks sitting for a longer period of time anymore, but that is something I might consider at some point. And I think for this case, I'll just stick with a daily chart. I just got in and out because what happened was that I wanted to buy it on my Roth IRA, but I didn't. I accidentally bought on my day trading account on Schwab because it's very easy to change accounts on Schwab, and I was just on the wrong one, so I sold a little later. It did ultimately bottom, I believe, at that level, and now it's a bit higher, but again, the overall marks are just not looking that nice. Let's look at the 10th. Right here, and I was in at 458. 458 and 1. So I was in about right here. And I sold for a slight profit. 12 pennies. That wasn't the goal. I wanted to be in the markets for a longer period of time. But yeah, it looks like it's going to fill this trend line here. And it also looks like a head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, and then, it might make a shoulder. Or you can even say this, shoulder, head, shoulder. I want to see how it reacts with the trend line. And that's why I'm not in the markets, for a long-term position. But it does look interesting. Alright, I kind of made a chart ahead of time just to, explain this one a bit easier. But the next trade is CYBL, which is called an OTC swizzle. I haven't really been super profitable with these. I like to try it, and this was an attempt. Maybe not the best stock and example of this type of setup, but I did take a trade with it. Again, CYBL for the 10th. Let's go over CYBL on a daily chart. Yeah, not a significant level on a daily chart, and I was in this for a day trade, but in theory it's trying to hold this 2-cent level. Maybe it'll hold it, maybe not, but why was I interested in this one? It looked like one of those things where it just starts consolidating in a certain range for a super long time, and then it tried here, but it came back, it failed, but it breaks out of it, and then it makes a crazy move towards the upside. The volume comes in and it just looks nice, but this one is very illiquid, so it wasn't really the best, but I traded it. So my entry was 212, 250. So that was right 250. So that was a bit later, actually, right here, 212. I was in right here. I probably wanted a bit of a confirmation, like, it tried here and it failed, so I got in at 250 right here. Right above VWAP, actually. Well, maybe not the best entry, but then again, maybe I'll make less, but at least when I get in, it's already out of the range, so maybe I won't make as much because I didn't get in here. But I have less risk just because of the fact I'm in after it broke out of it, and the idea is that it can continue to do more. I was out 303 to 105, so a small difference. 303 was right here. Right here. So probably right here. Yeah, I just was not in the setup for very long. Just a few minutes later, actually 2 minutes later, this would have been hard to sell into, but it did uptrend. It might have been possible to sell for a break even, but this one just didn't have the volume, and maybe I shouldn't have traded because they didn't have the volume. But I've seen this work on other setups, and yeah, this one was just probably not the best example, but at least I tried it, and I did trade a very small $5 risk level too, so at least I did that. Nothing wrong with it. I got some experience. It just didn't work because this one was just not ideal. It didn't have the volume. Alright, let's go ahead and go over AXXA, which was a morning panic bounce play on the 11th. And I like how this one, was the most profitable trade, and it was also the one that I traded with a larger size. I want to see that more. I don't want to see that, I have all of these trades, all of these winning trades, but then the one where I lost money was like my largest size into that trade. So I want to keep seeing stuff like this, and I did trade a $20 risk level instead of a 30 just because of the fact it says right here I didn't like how close the range it was trading in was to VWAP, so we'll go over that. Let's look at AXXA for the 11th. Oh, I already have it. So nothing too crazy on the daily chart. As you can tell, I've been having to do a few retakes just because of the way, my voice is. I mean, I already have a deep voice, but now this is just ridiculous. Although yesterday was worse. Yeah, I've had to do this a few times, but I already have the daily chart here, and this was the 11th. Not a significant daily chart, but it was definitely better than OPTI, which is why I traded a $10 risk level again with OPTI. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. The best would have been this day right here, because that was like the first red day after I had a nice run up. But you know, these aren't so bad. It's just less likely going to be as profitable. The 11th is right here. It's a pretty nice point. Can I get rid of this little drawing thing? That's better. I was in 937, 393. Right here. Really good entry. Really clean panic, you know, from 469 to this 39 level. So it has good range too. Big volume candle. Super nice entry. This one I traded the level 2 reversal. And yeah, you can see how, you know, 3.9 is here, but then VWAP is 4.1. I just felt like that was kind of too close. And sometimes what you see is that, you know, it's having a morning panic, but VWAP is so close to it. It usually means it's going to continue the downtrend. You know, just because it's so close to VWAP, and then once it actually has distance from it, it tends to be more likely that it's going to play out then and there. But you know, there was distance. It just wasn't that much, if you ask me. I mean, 39 to 41 is like 5%, 6%. So it offered something, but again, that's why I didn't trade a $30 risk level. So I didn't trade 30,000 shares. Although that would have been nice because it worked in this case. But you know, in the event that this setup didn't work here, that would have been fine. You know, at least I wasn't full sized. My exit was the next minute, and that was 4027. Very unusual. I normally sell in pieces, but in this case I sold everything there. Yeah, 4027. So right about here was my sell. Right here was my sell. My entry was right here. If I sold in pieces, that would have been nicer, but again, I've just played it more conservatively. I got all of it out. It did get to VWAP. It did even get above VWAP, although this would have been hard to sell into. The bid was around 407. So, yeah, that actually wasn't too bad. You know, again, I sold at almost at 403 right here. I could have sold at 406, which would have been the bid here, or maybe 407. So, a small difference. Let's just see what 407 would have been. Yeah, it would have been a little nicer in terms of percent gain. It really changed the price here that I would have made too, but yeah, again, just played it safe because of how close VWAP was. It did come back down. It did uptrend after that, although a bit choppy and less volume, of course, but that was good. I really like it. This is a trade I'm going to keep doing. That's what I feel like I'm best at. That's what I want to scale in, you know, as in trading larger positions. I hope we can get another one of these. I'm very thankful for every single time we get a nice morning panic bounce play like that. Okay, let's go over ENZZ, which is a reversal long setup. So that basically means I'm in a setup where I think, you know, this thing is downtrending, and I think it's going to start to stop the downtrending and start making a move in the opposite direction towards the upside. As you can tell, that doesn't sound very nice. It sounds like a newbie setup, something that people just think, oh, I think this is the bottom, let me buy, and they get destroyed. But I have not been profitable with this setup. At least I, you know, didn't trade a large position size. I traded, it seems like I didn't trade my full $5 risk level. I was actually half, but I lost 2 pennies here, and let's go over it. ENZC for the 11th. Alright, and the 11th is right here, so not a bad, you know, actually not a bad day for a morning panic bounce play, even though this one is like OPTI and that it has a bad, you know, daily chart. It's, I wonder if this thing had a morning panic bounce play. Let's look at the 11th. Oh yeah, it looks like it had a panic, but Yeah, the way this one traded would have been hard. This would have been it, the morning panic bounce play. Later in the day, 9:41. I'm not really looking that actively for morning panic bounce plays, but I guess it did one here from 12:15 to 12:48, so it wasn't even that nice, and that would have been hard to sell into the top. Yeah, and it's just downtrending. Unfortunately, this one didn't offer a morning panic bounce play, or at least a nice one, especially if you compare it to AXXA. I was in 1009, 1174. Right here, 1174. So right here was my entry. You know, I felt like it was done downtrending and it was going to start to reverse. And I got in at 1009 right here. You can tell it eventually worked. It did get to VWAP, which, if you look, that was my goal. It just didn't happen when I was in it. Again, me being in at 1009, and then it finally broke out of the range. Very similar. This is actually a better example, much better example of OTC Swizzle. Let me see if I can bring back the little square. Right, this is it, OTC Swizzle. The same thing I was interested in with CYBL, but it worked here a lot nicer. It looks cleaner. It's in a better part of daily chart. At least, you know, it's after this little uptrend that it had. CYBL was just consolidating near the volume. This one has more volume in general. When you look at the day, that was it, you know. And I was going for something like that. Not really an OTC Swizzle when I was in at 1009, because it was just at this point of the chart. But you know, if I was in maybe at 1121, this would have been an OTC Swizzle setup, but not necessarily right here, because again, you know, it wasn't trading that long for it to be a consolidation that it would break out of for that type of setup. Let's remove this drawing, and I got out 1015. You can see a small difference. 1174, 11733, 1015. Right here. Right here. Very, very close to my entry. It did downtrend, but it never broke the day low, which was my risk level, and that's nice. And it did eventually play out, just not when I was in. This was a better example of a OTC Swizzle, and an even nicer one would be one that would break past VWAP too. We didn't get that here, and this one doesn't trade with a wide range either, so that's another thing to consider. But that was a setup there, and I'm glad to go over an example of what I was trying with CYBL that actually did work out, and OTC Swizzle. Alright, there's only two more trades to go over and I'll be done. Let's look at NLST, which is a morning panic bounce play, a higher low setup. And this one I traded a $600 position just because of the fact it is a higher price stock, but I'm happy that I still traded. You know, it seems like I didn't trade a $30 risk level, but at the same time I don't mind that very much. Yeah, maybe I was too hard on myself here, not trading a $30 risk level. I said no, that I traded a $20 risk level instead of a 30, but higher price OTCs don't tend to work that well. But let's go ahead and go over it for the 12th. Right here. Not a significant day, but I'm sure it looked very clean on the 12th, otherwise I wouldn't have traded it. At least if I'm trading properly. Let's look at 948. I was in at 614.5. Right here, 948, 16.45. So right here. So this is a morning panic bounce play. It drops from 659 to 6, which is about 10%. Nice range, nice distance from VWAP. It's not horrible. You know, I did do it here. This is when you can see it was starting to hold this $6 level. I think I missed my entry there, or I just hesitated because it's a higher price OTC, but I didn't take into consideration at the time that I was also playing off of this $6 level. So That would have been ideal. And it did make a move from that to 626. And then again, I was in at 948 right here, 614.5. And I sold 3 minutes later, 951 at 620.5. Right here was my sell. And then my buy right here. Yeah, it got much higher. Excuse me. It would have been easy to sell at 628 because that was the bid. It did break VWAP. Probably just got scared because this thing, I remember, had a big wall at 615. I believe that was a level. And there was a lot of people with hidden size selling at 615. And when it broke out of it, you could see the big volume. I just got scared that maybe it wasn't going to last that long, and it being a higher price OTC where they don't work as well. You know, it might downtrend or come back, and then I missed out. But this thing got much higher. I just need to be more confident, I guess, if I start seeing more consistency with higher priced OTCs. But I'm not gonna beat myself up too much. But yeah, I did get much higher. Let's just see what it sell at 628 would have been. Yeah, that would have been a nicer percent gain. Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad actually. I don't understand how that changes my dollar risk level, but yeah, that would have been nice. Yeah, not bad. Alright. Let's see if I can do 2 in 1. The last one, HMBL. This is a long one. Morning panic bounce play, double bottom, higher low at the 14th. Let's look at HMBL for the 14th. Right here, not a significant daily chart, so I'm going to be more conservative with these, but you know, something about it made me interested in trading it. And since it was way back here, let me just try to zoom in a bit closer. That's pretty fine. So what is this setup? Here's a morning panic bounce play. Right, it did get to 31.97 and it dropped from 36, so the range is nice. And it did make a double bottom from this panic bottom. I did not get filled here. I kind of hesitated. That was when I just started to get sick. So, you know, I wasn't already at my best level, but, you know, I did hesitate here. And it did make a nice move from 32.5 to 34. Not horrible. And then I got in right here, I believe. Let's see and make sure. I got in at 10:09, 325. Right here, 325. So probably this candle. Yeah, because it just barely got into 10:09. Fidelity's kind of off on their timing sometimes, but I got in at 325, which was right here. And I placed the order between the bid and the ask, and I was happy I got filled. Right there in the middle. As you can tell, it died off. It didn't have any momentum. It didn't make a move towards VWAP. You know, max volatility, max, you know, price action, and then a little less, and then even less. And, you know, I didn't get to VWAP or anything after that, but that's fine. I got out 10:14, 328. Right here, 328. That was my sell. Yeah, it didn't really move much higher, but that was about it. Yeah. And I traded a $10 risk level perfectly. Alright, yeah, that was the last trade. Alright, well that concludes it, the very end of this weekly recap and my voice. That's it. I want to see more percent gains that are higher than 3%. That would be more ideal. I do like how I did this week overall, but there were a few morning panic bounce plays that had a level 2 reversal, and I hesitated because I didn't like the time period of it dropping and it looking like it was going to bottom at 931, 932. At this point, I will consider those just because of the fact that they seem to work, but I will not be full size. I'll probably trade, you know, maybe a $10 or $20 risk level depending on how, you know, are the other parts of the setup. What's the range, distance from VWAP, how much is it down on the day, all of those things into consideration. But I'm happy that I am trying to see some better progress. And I did also, I believe this was a week where I broke from being break even to now up in total, because I first started trading stocks in 2014, the very last day of 2014 with Tim Sykes, and I quit around 2016, down like $1,400 or $1,300, and I made it all back. And now I'm starting to, head towards the upside. Now, no longer in the red, but in the green. Still a lot of things I need to keep getting better with, but overall I'm pretty happy. I need to start sizing up on morning panic bounce plays and probably focus on those more. I'll keep an eye on the setups that take a longer time to play out. It seems like I'm just not as profitable with those. That's all I have for this week. No trading tomorrow. Happy Martin Luther King Day. And, on Tuesday I'll be ready, and God willing, not just spiritually but physically ready too, in terms of, having a cold right now. But I'm very happy, very thankful. It doesn't have to be like this at all. I could be less fortunate, but still have a long way to go. I'm very happy, and yep, that's all I got for this weekly recap.